Hello, I'm David Kerr and you are watching Shalom World News. Here's your latest news headlines from around the globe. The government of China must stop its war on faith. That's the demand being made by the United States Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom. Sam Brownback made his comments on November the 17th to the 2020 Ministerial to Advance Religious Freedom Conference, an international online gathering drawing together both governmental and non-governmental organisations. The aim of the meeting is to discuss religious liberty worldwide. Ambassador Brownback told those participating that China is possibly the worst state perpetrator of religious persecution in the world today. He highlighted the Chinese government's persecution of the Muslim Uyghurs as well as their treatment of Tibetan Buddhists, Christian house churches, the Catholic Church and the native religious movement known as Falun Gong. Ambassador Brownback expressed particular concern about China's development of high-tech observation systems using artificial intelligence and facial recognition to restrict religious liberty. He suggested that if China allowed greater religious liberty, it would have a more open society with, quote, a more satisfied citizenry. This is the third year of the Ministerial to Advance Religious Freedom Conference. It was hosted this year by the government of Poland. Cardinal Thomas Collins of Toronto has expressed his concern about proposed euthanasia legislation that will see disabled Canadians with no terminal illness now eligible for a lethal injection. The draft law is known as Bill C7. It seeks to expand the eligibility criteria for euthanasia in Canada. In a statement issued on November the 19th, Cardinal Collins said he was alarmed at the prospect of disabled people being pressured by family, friends or their own healthcare professionals to, quote, ease their burden and end their lives. The Cardinal said that disabled people need assisted living and not assisted death. He's now calling upon every Canadian to help foster a culture of care and love for one another. The Canadian Parliament first legalised euthanasia back in 2016. Meanwhile, Cardinal Collins has also criticised his local Catholic school board for attempting to silence a parish delegate who attempted to read the Catechism of the Catholic Church's teaching on homosexuality during a recent meeting. In a letter to the chair of the Toronto Catholic District School Board, Cardinal Collins said it was, quote, reprehensible to prevent any Catholic from reading from the Catechism. He stated that the Catholic faith must guide all who are engaged in Catholic education, otherwise, quote, that education ceases to be Catholic. Cardinal Collins concluded his remarks by reminding the school board that the words of Jesus Christ not only soothe, but also, quote, challenge us to repentance and holiness. Approximately 2/3 of Americans say that religion or faith has been important to them during the current COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the same numbers say that houses of worship should be treated with at least the same priority for reopening as businesses. That's just two of the findings from a new survey conducted by the non-profit law firm, the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty, who are based in Washington, D.C. They published their annual Religious Freedom Index on November the 17th. Its conclusions are based upon data garnered from an online poll of a representative sample of around 1,000 American adults. The survey also found that 60% of Americans say religion is an integral part of their personal identity. Staying in America, and the Catholic Church in Tulsa has withdrawn from the Oklahoma Council of Churches after they refused to condemn abortion of the unborn. In a public statement, Bishop David Conderla of Tulsa noted that while the local ecumenical group were repeatedly keen to support, quote, the equality and equity of all God's children, he questioned why such statements never apply to the unborn, suggesting that their exclusion was, quote, inconsistent or even politically motivated. Meanwhile, the pro-life group 40 Days for Life say their annual campaign has saved the lives of 757 unborn babies over the past 2 months. They also suggest that 4 abortion workers have quit their jobs during that time. Those figures were released in this video, charting the outcomes of their 2020 campaign. It witnessed pro-life activists taking part in peaceful and prayerful vigils outside abortion facilities in 588 towns and cities across the world. Among the locations hosting their first ever 40 Days for Life was the Caribbean island of Cuba. 40 Days for Life now want to continue their campaign all year round. The organisation began in the state of Texas 16 years ago. It now has a presence in 63 countries. Finally, from next year, the celebration of World Youth Days in local dioceses across the globe will take place upon the Feast of Christ the King in November rather than on Palm Sunday, as has traditionally happened up until now. The announcement of the date change was made on Sunday as a delegation of young people from Portugal took possession of the World Youth Day cross at the Vatican in the presence of Pope Francis. They also received an image of Our Lady, Salus Populi Romani, or Health of the Roman People. The Portuguese capital of Lisbon is due to host the next World Youth Day in 2023. Local diocesan World Youth Days, though, are observed in the years in between those main international gatherings. Noting the change of date to the Feast of Christ the King, Pope Francis said that, quote, "The centre of the celebration remains the mystery of Jesus Christ, the Redeemer of man, as Pope St. John Paul II, the initiator and patron of World Youth Day, always emphasised." Well, that's all for now. Do join me next time for some more headlines from around the globe. Until then, may God bless you. Shalom.